My name is Rofami E. Amaba. Subject FM2 Monetary Policy and Central Banking. Section BA 167. What is inflation? Inflation is a continuing rise in the general price level, usually attributed to an increase in the volume of money and credit relative to available goods and services. It is also the universal experience of all countries, both developed and developing. Inflation is a continuing increase in price due to increase in production costs. Inflation occurs when spending on goods and services to be greater on production. Prices can rise because of supply constraints that increase the cost of producing goods and offering services. What causes inflation? So there is two types of inflation, which is demand pull inflation and cost push inflation. In the module, demand pull inflation is those who buy goods and services desire to purchase greater than what economy can produce, and also being over what is needed in demand for products that are bought and sold in business tend to push prices up. While cost push inflation is the shape of supply curve, usually result from increase in the cost of production of inputs and raw materials, an increase in wage cost. Cost push inflation is the increase in cost of production push prices up. Like for example, there is more demand and shortage of supply. Then the prices will increase that will lead to inflation. Just like the shortage of Coca-Cola. Many people wanted to buy this product, but the problem is there is a shortage of production. Then sellers tend to make prices increase, and many consumers will also willing to buy since there is a shortage of supply. Can we see inflation coming? Yes, because it seems that in many parts of the world, there's not been inflation, there's been above a point that we would consider problematic in many parts of the world. But now, perhaps we are at a point where that's the case. What we're seeing now is inflation rates come in quite way above. That's because inflation is a general increase in prices. Lots of prices rising by a large amount all at the same time. Every year, inflation represents how much more expenses the relevant set of goods and services that has become over a certain period, most commonly in a year. As we can see, inflation is typically a broad measure such as the overall increase in prices or the increase in the cost of living in a country. But it can also be more narrowly calculated for certain goods such as foods or for services such as haircut for example. Why should we care? We should care because all people affecting the inflation, just like the price for goods and services. It can always change. Some prices rise, some prices fall. So inflation occurs when there is a broad increase in the price of goods and services, not just of individual items. It means that we can buy less for what amount we have today that we have yesterday. In other words, inflation reduces the savings of people. What I can do during inflation. As a college student, I think I must budget my allowance since there is an increase of all prices. I must only buy what I need and not what I want, since our needs in daily life is more important than to spend our money in what we want. Instead, I save it for important matters.